Hey, what's going on, YouTubers? This is Zen from Zen World, and I hope you're having a great day. So even though we haven't gotten any confirmation or any rumors from Marvel vs. Capcom, we are going to continue with the Marvel vs. Capcom Forever series. And because this is the month of October leading up to Halloween, we are going to do a versus match between Eric Brooks, who is Blade, and also Dimitri Maximov from the Vampire Slayer series, or better known as Darkstalkers for a lot of us. So let's start off with Eric Brooks, his story, and also his training from the Earth 616 universe. And all his information for both Blade and also Dimitri Maximov is coming directly from the wiki. So shout out to all the people who combine all of their knowledge in order to come up with basically a series of information that's productive for analysis of this versus match. So for Eric Brooks, he was born in Soho, London on October 24th, 1929. His father, Lucas Cross, a member of the secret society, the Order of Tirana, sent his pregnant wife Tara to England before he was taken prisoner in Lavitra. There, she took the name of Vanessa Brooks, kind of like as a secret name, and found shelter in a brothel owner, Madame Vanity, another member of the Order of Tirana. Experiencing labor complications, Tara was forced to seek out a doctor's assistance. The doctor that came in, his name was Deacon Frostin, who was actually a ravenous vampire and feasted on the woman as she gave birth, passing on a series of enzymes that altered the baby in itself. The enzymes entered the infant's bloodstream, transforming him into a being tainted by a vampire's kiss, but not fully converted into a vampire. In other words, half human, half vampire, also called a vampire. Alright, so his mother died shortly after that, and now let's get into his training. So while he was growing up on the street of London, he ran into an American veteran vampire slayer, Jamal Afri, and saved him from being killed by vampires with a grudge against the old man. Afri soon learned that Eric and his origins, and decided to take him under his wing, becoming his mentor and foster father and helping him to control his powers. So from there, they train pretty much. So let's talk about his powers. What are his powers in particular? So now for him, he possesses all of the strengths that a vampire would have, which is superhuman strength. But he has none of their weaknesses when it comes to light or I would say solar rays in that sense. So sunlight, basically. He has a keen sense of smell. He has a heightened ability for his agility. He has a damn physiology. Blade was born with a vampire / human hybrid. The enzymes that made him immune is also made him immune to a lot of different diseases and things of that nature. So he has acute senses, superhuman strength, superhuman speed, agility, stamina, durability, regenerative healing factors, and he has a prolonged lifespan. Because as we talked about earlier in the video, it was 1929, and he is still currently looking in his probably early 30s when we see him in the current 616 comic books. One of the latest books that's come out is Strike Force, when he teams up with a series of superheroes such as Spider-Woman and also the Winter Soldier to go against some doppelganger-based enemies that come from Asgard, or at least from that area, right? So he's a master martial artist. He is proficient in a lot of different martial arts that is comprised of boxing, capoeira, eskrima, jeet kune do, hapkido, jujutsu, shotokan karate, kung fu, ninjutsu. Sounds just like a character who played them, right? So basically for his character, he's pretty adept in martial arts in terms of his skill sets, and his powers are pretty pronoun. So now let's get into Dimitri Maximov. So Dimitri Maximov, we know he is a vampire. So he lives within the mountains of Romania lies a castle that appears only on a full moon. The castle named after the owner, which was Zerotic. This castle belonged to Maki vampire, which is Dimitri Maximov. 100 years ago, he challenged Belial Enslin for power. Belial Enslin is basically a character or part of the lineage in Darkstalkers, right? One of the characters that we'll see as Morgan. He lost the battle and was exiled from Maki for his crimes against his rulers. Sunlight was something that was troublesome for vampires of Maki, especially for Demitri, right? So just like in Blade, he suffers from some of the weaknesses that a lot of vampires have, and that is sunlight. To avoid sunlight, he used his supernatural abilities and created a field to cover his castle. He used this field to recover his strength. For 50 years, he stayed within his casket and slowly regained his strength. Okay, so in terms of his personality, he's pretty villainous and power hungry, very similar to Dracula, and he sees humanity as an inferior race and only cares for their blood. His favorite type of blood is from innocent and beautiful girls who seem to be loyal to Dimitri and admire him. Right? So in terms of his powers, let's talk about his powers. Dimitri is one of the most dangerous vampires in the Darkstalkers series. Second to only Dracula himself. So if we're talking about Dracula himself, now Dracula there's a version of Dracula who appears in the Marvel comic books and also the 616 universe, and his powers are pretty reminiscent to the ones in the Darkstalkers universe themselves. So the power stems from, so for him, Dimitri, this power stems from the fact that he gave Belial an intense battle despite losing against him due to his arrogance. So he only lost the battle due to his arrogance, not because of his powers. So after years of gaining power by drinking the blood of humans and gaining knowledge throughout their history, he has become wiser than he ever was since the war against Belial. He is able to turn people into vampires like himself, to control, summon supernatural bats, and attack his foes, transform into a vampire, and such forth. So one of the things that's not listed here is that he's able to manifest different versions of hellfire. Now, hellfire is basically fire from hell, which is a lot denser and stronger than the fire that could be made from any kind of wooden source or just anything in particular. It's very reminiscent to the sun's flare, or sun's flare, which is the fire that is very hot from the sun, right? For lack of a better word. So in terms of his capabilities, there's nothing that says that he's a pronounced martial arts, right? But one thing that we could gather is that over the years, he must have gathered information in terms of how to learn various styles. But his arrogance in itself hasn't led him to learn any kind of martial arts. So now let's get into who I think. Now again, this is going to be from my personal dialect of who do I think would win. And for me, when it comes to a battle between the two, I honestly, if we're just talking about the story and the feats of these characters themselves, I am going to personally go with Blade. I think Blade would win this match, and not because of his abilities as a vampire. I think that his abilities as a vampire, the part that is a vampire, is a lot weaker than Dimitri Maximov. But the part about Blade that is a lot stronger than Dimitri Maximov is his ability to fight. And as a martial artist myself, I understand the concept that someone could be much more powerful than you, but if you know certain weak spots and certain just basically strategies and tactical skill sets that you could use against another foe or another opponent, then you can overcome them. Now, of course, this is complete speculation, but one of the things that we know is that if Blade wanted to, that he could probably the way Blade works is that he can be very stealthy, or he could be a person who's all up in your face, right? And because Dimitri is a person who utilizes his power but not so much his skill sets and fighting prowesses, then we could deduce that if the fight was to go on to a certain extent, when there's sunlight involved, then the winner would most likely be Blade himself, right? But again, in the comment section, you choose. Who do you think would win? This is just speculation from me and who I think. Now, there's probably a lot of information that I don't know about Dimitri Maximov because I'm more or less a Marvel Comics reader. So, in the sense, a lot of what I'm saying may be, I would say it's part impartial, right? That I'm going for Blade, but maybe Dimitri will win, but I highly doubt that. So I'm looking for in the comment section if someone could prove me wrong, because I'm eager to know what are the different prowesses when it comes to Dimitri Maximov that I'm not alluding to right now. Now, if the question was Blade versus Jeddah, I think it would be a very different story. Now, Jeddah is is a character inside of the Darkstalkers universe, and I think that match would go a lot differently in terms of what would happen. So if you're enjoying this video, give me a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and make sure you share the video on various social media sources such as Facebook and other things like that, so other people could join us in our Marvel vs. Capcom Forever future series. Alright everyone, take care. Peace.
Brutality.
That was fun!